Hi, so here we are at the last video on the marketing mix. Particularly, we're just going to look at the people aspect today and just briefly tie it all together. So you'll remember that we've looked at 6 out of those 7 P's so far, and all of these work together. There is no order of importance, and there is really, in practice, a very low possibility of finding one of these on their own. They really do work together, they really do overlap. And you'll remember I said as well that if you are doing the level 2 course or you're doing GCSE, you only really need to know those 4, which we call the basic marketing mix. If you're on level 3, if you're doing A level, you will need to know about all 7, and that is the extended marketing mix. But I think I mentioned before as well, my GCSE students just learn the 7 and then they've got less to do when they get to A level. Okay, so people, thinking from a marketing point of view, the people who are selling your product are extremely important. And that's partly because of how they treat the customer and whether they make them feel welcome, what we call good customer service. And it's also because they can actively sell. So customer service, extremely important. Very basically, if the customers are happy, they'll come back. If they're not only will they not come back, but they will go and tell people. So as a business, you will lose more than that one upset customer. Customer service involves a whole range of things. You see our waiter there looks very smart. He's smiling. He's dressed appropriately for the service that he's giving. If you go into supermarkets, for example, you'll see that all the staff are in uniform. They'll also very often wear a name badge because the customer likes to know who they're talking to. And also because then if there is a complaint, if there is a query, that customer is able to say who they spoke to. Simple things like greeting customers when they come into a store, saying goodbye and thank you when they leave actually are quite important. It's all part of making the customer feel comfortable. And the smarter ones among you will be thinking, well, this ties in as well with things like the atmosphere that we talked about when we talked about the place. Obviously as well, we want staff that are efficient. We want staff that know what they're talking about. If I go into Tesco's and I ask somebody where the potatoes are, a member of staff that is, I would expect them to know. And then we talk about going the extra mile. And if you work in retail or in the service industry, in tourism, any of those areas, you will hear that a lot. And that's about going that extra bit on top of what the customer expects. Why? Because that is what customers remember. Okay. It may or may not add value to that sale, but it will certainly bring those customers coming back, and it will certainly cause them to say good things about you and your business. And that's important. The reputation that we have, the way that the general public, people in general, talk about our business is actually quite an important part of the marketing process. Okay. On top of that, we talk about direct sales. Okay. Salespeople will focus on what we call features and benefits. Now, those of you doing level 2 BTEC, if you're doing the sales module, we go through this in quite some detail and you get to role play it as well. But basically a feature is something about the product. So my mobile phone, for example, has 4G connectivity. The benefit of that is that it allows me to get onto the internet. And good salespeople will point out those features and those benefits to the customer. And they're trained to do that. And the reason they're trained to do that is because it works. It convinces the customer that they want to buy. You'll also hear about hard and soft sell. So a hard sell is quite relentless, maybe trying again and again to make a sale. If the customer says no, again, salespeople are trained to try to overcome the objection and change that customer's mind. Whereas a soft sell might be just, this is the product, this is what it does, this is this, and if the customer says no, then that might be the end of the conversation. There's advantages to each of those. A lot of people are put off by a very obvious sales technique, but also it does work for some people. Demonstrating the product, again, imagine a member of staff, very knowledgeable, very presentable, looks smart, looks attractive, is smiling and showing you this wonderful product and how it works. That's a huge marketing tool in comparison to just seeing that product on the shelf. Okay. And finally, although we tend to look mostly at face-to-face sales and online now, remember things like telesales as well. People, it's what we call cold calling. They will literally phone you up and try and sell you something. Ask your parents if they've ever had someone on the phone trying to sell them double glazing or insurance, or get them to sign up with a different electricity company. They will have had those calls. You might even have had those calls. Obviously online, the people element is depleted a little bit. But then when you think about something like, say, social media, you can see that there is a much more personal aspect that goes into that. And also, people talking on things like Facebook or Twitter or, WhatsApp or TikTok now, if there are products there being used in these videos or that people are talking about, then that is a kind of indirect marketing. It will persuade people to buy, and that's what we're all about. So I've touched on this really, word of mouth and reputation. A company that gets a bad reputation, even if its products are amazing, if you get a bad reputation for customer service or for being dishonest or rude, it will put people off. And the opposite is also true. Good reputation will bring more custom. Another point as well, you can see George Clooney there. Very often products, when they do their advertising, will look for celebrity endorsements. Whether that quite fits into people or whether that's more about marketing and promotion is a matter of opinion. But that brings us back to my original point that all of these 7 Ps really do interact with each other. So if you've got this far, well done. You now know the 7 Ps of the marketing mix, and hopefully you can explain a little bit about what each one means. And I will just reiterate once again, no one of these works on its own. We have a product, for example, that is well placed, well packaged, it works well, it's great, but it needs a place to be sold in. It needs to be set at the right price. We're going to need to promote our product. We're going to need people to sell our product. We're going to have a process by which people can buy it. And there will be a physical location or an online location in which they do that. And it really is just as straightforward as that, how these 7 work together. For different products and in different circumstances, some of the 7 might be more important than others. And one of the things that you'll look at when you write essays about this is which of these are being used in a particular marketing campaign, or which you would use in yours. So that is really it. We've looked at the marketing mix. We've looked at all of the 7 Ps. It's all about getting those sales, all about driving customers to our business and getting them to spend their money. So thank you ever so much for watching all of these videos. We will look at another topic in the future, but for now, thank you very much for watching. Do subscribe if you want to, and goodbye.